Welcome to the Revamp Podcast.
Thanks, brother.
Today.
Appreciate it.
Super excited.
Thanks for
Marc
having me.
Ricci, Prime Realty Partners. Awesome. Is it fair or safe to say like investor-focused brokerage? Because I know you do a lot of retail also, but I know a lot of agents that are over there are kind of investor-focused.
It's investor-focused and agent investor-focused at the same time.
Okay.
That we really like to make sure that we're teaching and coaching on the things for the people, for the agents there to be business owners and to build wealth in their future. You know, I've been in the business a long time, and it's rare you come across someone that actually built wealth through being a realtor.
Fair.
It comes through investing, real estate investing, building assets, acquiring assets. So that's a lot of what we try to focus on with people, if that's what they want. And we cater everything to what it is that the agent population wants at the brokerage. And if they're not looking for that, then okay. And that's okay. Some people do it. They're looking to sell 2 to 3 homes a year, supplemental income from their full-time job, never going to leave their full-time job. They have a good salary. They have benefits. They have pension, 401k. Okay, they're looking to make another 15, 20 grand a year. Cool. We'll cater that plan towards what it is they want to do. And we have people that are investor focused. They want to understand how to become an investor, be a real estate investor, flip properties, buy rentals, understand private money, hard money, and then we'll work with them and teach that. But it's, you know, we teach a lot of stuff, I feel personally, that other brokerages don't or won't teach. And that's wholesaling, that's flipping, that's everything in that category.
Dude, I love that. I love that. And you're also an investor yourself. You flip properties, you own rentals, you've done a lot of things over the years and everything. So I want to get back to like the start and how you got into the world of real estate and how you built this massive brokerage you have today and everything. And,
all right.
You know, the portfolio that you got. So what was that entry like?
Cliff Notes version of it. 2003. 2002, I was managing a restaurant in North Carolina. Okay. And my mom owned a advertising and PR firm here in Jersey. And my sister had just moved to Arkansas to do missionary work with her husband, took a couple other kids with him. And, you know, we're a tight-knit Italian family, so we hit a point where there was no kids around for my folks. And my mom had the national PR account, for a real estate franchise. And they called me and said, hey, look, come on up, come back home, we'll buy it, partner up.
So this was home, though. You were down there working, but like Jersey was home for you.
Jersey's always been home.
Gotcha.
Yeah, and I was working at and managing a restaurant down there. And they contacted me. I'm like, you know what? Tired of the restaurant business. I'm tired of getting home at 2 a.m. in the morning, and I want to take control of my own future. Came home to investigate, do some digging into real estate, the franchise itself. The GM at the restaurant knew what my thoughts were. We were super tight. We were good friends, hung out all the time. And decided, right, this is what I want to do. I go back down on a Friday and tell him, I said, look, I'm done.
I'm out.
This is well, I wasn't out at that time, so this is what we're going to do. And he said, how long? I said, look, no rush, 6, 7 months. We don't have any paperwork yet. There's still a lot that has to take place for that. We'll get someone in, get him trained up to replace me. That was on a Friday night. That night when I was closing, guy came in, broke in the restaurant, held me up at gunpoint.
Get the fuck out of here.
Put a gun to my head, locked me in the bartender and in the beer cooler and took the money and took off.
Holy crap.
Put a gun to my head, pinned me up against the wall. And because when he went to put us in the beer cooler, it was connected to the office. And I just, out of a reflex, I go to grab my, remember the Nokia phones?
Yeah.
I had a Nokia and I just go grab the phone. And he saw me do it and just put the gun on my head, jacked me up against the wall. I was like, don't even fucking think about it. I said, dude, here, have it. I don't,
Holy
I don't want it.
How old were you?
2002. So what's that, 23 years ago? What am I now? 51. So, 28.
Okay.
28 around there. Then me and the bartenders, we sat in the beer cooler for about a half hour, had some drinks.
Well, yeah, naturally. What else are you going to do? Yeah, make the best of the situation.
Yeah, and then we broke out. And then the next day I walk in the restaurant and I look at the GM and he goes, how long? I'm like, I'm out. I'll see you. And I stuck around that weekend to get him through the weekend. And then came home and we had the franchise, had that for 5 years. And I operated for 5 years in real estate, not knowing a thing about what the hell was going on.
So what were you doing in that role then at that point?
Well, I was the owner. And when we opened up, I had someone who was a broker of record for the company who had the same franchise in PA. She was my broker of record in Jersey as well. Then after 3 years, I got my broker's license and then took over as broker of record and owner of the company. And after 4 years in 2007, the market started to shift. And that kind of model was a discount model, a flat fee model. Those brands didn't do so hot in a down market, and that's when the market really shifted to where everything bottomed out.
Got it.
2008 franchise agreement was up. We knew we weren't going to renew. I went with Long & Foster at the time with the plans of going to open a satellite office for Long & Foster. So I was with them for a total of 8 years. The last 3 years, I became a manager of the Cherry Hill office. And then left there, went to go work for Weichert for 3 years as a manager. And that's kind of when everything started to really come into play for me. So it was the first time ever when I was 43 years old, I was at Weichert, and I think I was there for 2 years. I wrote down what I actually wanted for my future and what I want for retirement. And I looked at those lists, and my question to me was, can I get that doing what I'm doing now? And the answer was no. So at the time, I knew a guy, I'm not mentioning any names for anyone here, but I knew a guy that had a brokerage but was heavy in the investing space. We'd always talked over the years. Tommy never lined up. And then we connected again, and I needed to understand the real estate investment space because I had never been in it.
Yep.
I'd never done it, and I wanted to understand it so I can go do it myself. So went to go work for him for a little over about a year and a half, I guess, to understand the investment space, wholesale, flipping, portfolio. And then after about a year and a half, figured it was time for me to go. And then I went out and opened Prime.
Shit, man. That was a very condensed version, but I want to take a step back real quick. So even like a question that popped in my head when you said like you went and were under, what was it, Weichert, the
Yes.
second brokerage?
Yes.
So when you say like you were a manager there, like what does that entail, right? Because people think of agent and it's just like, oh, well, I know what you do. You help people facilitate, you know,
So-
buying, selling houses. What's a manager do in that
I
role?
was a number. I'm not a corporate guy at all.
Okay.
And working for corporate, I just, I think you're a number. And again, this is my personal opinion on things. I get people have their different personal opinions on things, and that's fine. But at a big corporation like that, you're a number. People don't give a shit about you. They don't care about you. I was there to oversee an office, kind of take the liability, help coach and train people how they wanted them to be coached, not
Got
how
it.
I thought was going to be beneficial. When I sold and I was an active agent selling, I sold a lot of properties. I mean, me and my team, we were doing 130, 140 units a year. So I understood what it took to be able to sell at a high level.
Yep.
And those aren't the things that they necessarily wanted taught. And the other part about it is that it was about bodies and having as many bodies as you can.
Yep.
And drive everything to our ancillary services with mortgage, title, insurance, because the brokerage actually doesn't make money on real estate.
Yep.
So I learned a lot about the corporate side. And again, I'm not a corporate guy at all.
Yep.
And when I got hired there, my RVP at the time was a wonderful guy. I loved him. He was great, super intelligent.
RVP?
Regional vice president.
Okay.
So he was my direct report. So I reported directly to him, and he was a fantastic guy, super smart, knowledgeable, polished. And in the beginning, it was, look, man, just you guys are hiring me for a reason. Let me go to work. Let me do my thing. And if I fuck up, fire me.
Yep.
And was there for 3 years, but it was just time to go, man. It was time to go because my goals didn't align with what the companies was, what the corporations was. And I got that. No harm, no foul to them. I enjoyed my time there. Everything where I was, I learned a lot to get me to where I was. And I don't regret any part about it. Met a lot of great people there.
Yep.
And look, I think as a whole, companies are good, right? But when there gets to be so many people there, you can only
It's
be
different.
a number at a certain point. You know what I mean?
Totally agree.
So I left, again, to open up Prime with a completely different intent to what we are right now. It's morphed into something completely different that I anticipated when I first opened it up.
So I think at a high level, you kind of touched on some of the things that you hated about the big corporate models and everything. But like, if you were to just list like 2 or 3 of the biggest things that you fucking hated about corporate brokerages, if you will, that you kind of course corrected and built your business and brokerage to kind of counteract those,
Right.
what do you think it is?
One is just being a number as far as the people. You're a number and completely expendable.
I don't know, man. You're getting a lot of numbers though, too, right? You're getting pretty big, bro.
We are getting bigger. I think we have a structure to take care of things. But no, I get to the point of that. I think the other thing is coach my way as far as speaking from the corporation. Coach and teach my way rather than what the agents actually need. So I think that's one of the things that we really focus on. Again, there's people from all walks of life, all different types of business plans. And we don't have one coaching or training program that fits one platform as far as what it is that here's what you're doing. We need to understand we have 103 agents, and it's understand what it is that they need. And then we cater everything towards that. And that I work for the agents. The agents don't work for me. To where
Dude,
on
I
the big
love that.
corporate side, I think that mentality is completely different. And people,
inverse, for
corporations
sure.
may sit there and combat me on that, but I don't give a shit because that's not what I saw.
Yep.
That's not what I saw. You know
Yep.
what I mean, I work for the agents. I'm there for the agents. Agents simply hang a license at a brokerage. That's it.
Yep.
They hang their license. They operate their brokerage. Each individual agent owns a brokerage internally of the brokerage where they hang their license. And that's how the model's set up. That's really what it is. And I have to understand what it is that they want to do so I can help them accomplish what it is they want. Are we successful all the time in doing it? No, not at all.
Of course.
That's the way the business is. Are we successful more than not? Yes, I do believe that we are, as long as we're listening and hearing to what people want. And that's where the structure is built out with us, that we have one woman in our office, Heather Morris. She's the director of training and education. Her job in the office is to call and speak to every single person in the office and find out what it is exactly that they need. What kind of coaching and training do you need for your business right now? And if there is, we all share calendars. Then she will book a one-on-one with myself and the agent, or with Rob and the agent, or a 2-on-1, so we can sit there and talk to them collectively, whether it be business plan and marketing, lead gen, whatever it is. Then if there gets to be enough of a consensus where enough people want the same thing, then that's when Heather will sit there and schedule a group training class for it. Rather than putting out, here's our monthly calendar, how am I going to put out a monthly calendar of all this stuff? I don't know what it is that you need.
Yep.
So I'm just putting out a calendar to fill a calendar and putting out for what I think it is that you need. But I don't know that unless I'm talking to you.
Right.
So we need to understand that. Now we've talked to everyone. Everyone wants this. Cool. Now we put it together, schedule the training class. So I don't have a monthly calendar. I don't have a monthly schedule for training classes. Yep. It's ongoing. It's ever evolving.
Take the feedback and listen.
That's exactly what we do. And that's one of the biggest things, that there's not enough people that fucking listen. Everyone's talking too much. Shut the fuck up and listen.
Dude.
Am I allowed to curse on this?
No,
Okay.
You're totally not. You're
All
good,
right,
man.
just
You're
making
good.
sure.
You're good. You know who you're talking to? Yeah, we're good. We're good.
I was making sure.
And no, seriously, that's one of the things that I love and respect about you most, is that you are freaking outspoken. And it's like, I've seen you call out so many people for doing unethical shit just on social media, right? And it's like, in the world of real estate investing specifically, I mean, I get that it happens.
Yeah.
Like, there's shitheads on the retail side as well. But it's like, a lot of times people are too afraid to call it out, and you are not one of those people, man.
No, look, I'm not afraid to call it out. I mean, look, I try to still be as kind as I can, and don't get off the rails and doing and trying to be as real as I can. And look, and to be honest, I'm not on social media as much as I used to be. I just think it's one of the most toxic places that there is.
Fair.
So, but if I do go on social media, I try to either do something as far as bringing value, or it's something with my kids, something like that. You know what I mean? So I'm not on. The only thing I'm on is Facebook. I don't have Instagram. My kids will send me a TikTok video. I'm like, guys, I can't watch it. I don't have it. I'm not downloading TikTok. And look, it's other people. It benefits them well. They do well with it, and that's awesome, and that's great. I stick to what I enjoy doing, so I can have my happiness on a daily basis. Life is short, and I try. I went to just got back from Cancun a couple weeks ago. Went there with my son. And it was a senior trip. So him and his best friends and me and the dads went, and it was a great guys trip. And I completely detached from everything. It was awesome. It was fantastic.
That's sweet. Dude, how long did you go for?
5 days.
5 days.
Went there for 5 days.
Nice.
Yeah, and it was all the newly turned 18-year-old guys who can legally drink in the country, and they had an absolute ball. And it was great watching them have the time of their lives. And me and the dads, they're great guys. We had a wonderful time while we were there, but it was great detaching, And I try to stay away from work as much as possible. I think I built a great crew at the office that we have between Rob and between Sarah Lowell, who's our operations manager, and she does all the stuff that she does that allows Rob and I to focus on the growth of the company, and Heather with the director of training and education. And I'll tell you, it was really the first time that I'd been away for a while on a vacation like that. And I didn't have to worry about a thing being handled. To me, that showed a different level of success that we took things to, where I can actually disappear and I come back and nothing was missed.
How'd that feel?
I felt freaking amazing. It felt amazing, and it's showing that we got the right people that are there. I mean, I haven't been on a vacation like that in God knows how long, with something like that. And it was great. But coming back, it was like walked back in the day after and sat down with Sarah and Heather, and it was like, okay, so what's going on? They're like, all's good. Dude. And it was, when I was away, we had some personal transactions that we were doing, some investment deals that Rob and Steve and I were working on. And I had to jump into those a couple of times to look at things. Excuse me. But aside from that, on a brokerage level, everything was handled. And I loved it. We have a phenomenal team in the office, and they're there for the agents nonstop. They help them out, and they put in the time they have to put in.
Dude, I love that.
It was great.
So tell me about the investment side. Like, what was your first flip that you did?
So it's actually weird about that one. So the first flip that I did, I got from a wholesaler. And it was a wholesaler that used to work for me when I was at the other place prior to opening up Prime. And he brought me this deal, and I looked at it, and I'm like, wow, this makes for a great flip. So then I found private financing for it to do it. And my thing is that I wanted to I want to make sure that I build a business that we could GC pretty much everything, because look, my skill set is not fixing properties. I don't want to do that. It's not where I want to spend my time. I'm a big proponent of time equals money and the value of my time. And I want to want to stay in my lane. But the first one that I did, I wanted to sub everything out so I can understand the whole process. I needed to understand and learn about it. And that was from everything to meeting all the contractors out there, getting the different quotes, getting the estimates. It was a small 960 square foot, 2-bed, 1-bath rancher in Browns Mills. And, small kitchen. The quotes for the kitchen range from $6,500 to $16,000, the same exact thing.
Yep.
So I learned a lot from that. I did some of the demo, some of the things myself a little bit. I did, some minor carpentry to the place, and we're getting ready to flip it and put it on the market. And then I was talking to my my partner, Steve, and we're like, you know what? Like, this is a great rental. And we really want to buy a rental property. So I owned the property with a different guy, and I talked to Steve, and we're like, I hung up the phone. We was talking about something. I called him back. I'm like, do you want to buy this as a rental? We can keep this? He goes, I was going to call you back about that. So we agreed to buy it. We bought it from the other entity that I owned it from, my partner. Had a buffer in there, so we actually made a little bit of money on it.
Cool.
And then kept it as a rental, and that was my first rental. And we've just gone on from there.
There you go.
That was, after that, again, it was, all right, I'm not going to sub anything out. GCs for everything. And from there, we have one job now that we subbed out. Everything else has been GC work.
Okay.
And it's been great. And it has been a mixture of, I think rentals, we have a dozen rentals in different pockets, different areas. We have other things that we're looking at. We were looking at a 38 unit in Atlantic City. Scary getting into something like that. It was a $4 million deal. Never been involved in a deal like that. We wound up walking away from it because just didn't get the warm and fuzzies from the owner of the property. And we didn't feel comfortable going into a deal that big. We had raised the capital. We were ready to go, but just didn't feel right about the guy that we were looking at buying it from. So walked away from that. And then in turn, on the flip side, we bought 2 properties in Ocean City. Well, we're under contract to buy 2 properties in Ocean City. We closed on those in about 2.5 weeks.
Shit. All right. Sweet, man.
We wanted to keep them as rentals. Numbers don't work for that. So pivot, and we're going to wind up flipping them.
Dude, I love that. Yeah. So just the way that you describe that process of doing the first flip turned rental for you, like that's the approach that I love. Like, too often, dude, people come to me and they're like, hey, can you help me buy my first flip, buy my first rental? Ultimately, they're asking, can you help me find a distressed property that I can then rehab and then do something with it, right? And a lot of times it's people that come to me that have no construction experience. They have no connections.
Right.
They don't really have any real estate experience. It's like, I think if you're not at least willing to learn and have some sort of hands-on experience, I don't know what to tell you. Like, I do know people that have been successful that were entirely hands-off with the construction of a fix and flip company or a rental, company where it was still construction on the front end. That's not me, man. So I can't friggin' help you in that regard. Like, I don't know how to point you in the right direction, And
I think that there's got to be, look, everyone has their own skill sets. And I think there's a lot of it staying in your lane. And look, I love working with partners where everyone brings different value to it. I think in everything,
it's a beautiful thing.
Everything that I've done as far as the, look, even from the brokerage, title company, I'm part owner of a title company, part owner of a property management company, have 2 or 3 different investment LLCs, and everything is partner based. And it's funny because the one deal that I didn't have a partner, did on my own, got crushed. I got crushed. I netted $1,500, but it took 18 months to do it. Ooh. So yes, I absolutely lost money on it. That was during COVID when a lot of shit shut down, and there was that drug out a lot. But ironically, the one that I did on my own, I lost money. It was the worst deal that I did. I learned a whole lot from that, but I love working with partners, and I have one partner in a lot of rentals that we have. We each bring a different skill set, and Rob, Steve, and I with SBR Properties, we formed it and started doing different things, and then it was kind of, all right, we're all kind of stepping on each other's toes. Mm-hmm. Let's sit down. We sat down and said, all right, each person's got their lane. We stay in our lane, and it makes it work more systematically, and the process is a lot easier in doing it. But and we have another property that I think we just signed the contract on. Rob just signed the contract on today on the way over here, that we're doing a JV with one of our agents. He brought the deal to us. We're going to do it together. We're going to JV with him, and we're buying it. It's a light rehab going in, and there's a good out to it. So he's a good dude. He's in the investment space as well. And it's no matter where there's opportunity, you have to take a look at every opportunity and then weigh it all. And everyone has different investment strategies. And that's something that I learned going through all this, that everyone has their different investment strategies, and it's know what works for you, stick to that.
Yep.
You know, and that's what we do, man. And it's, look, how it goes, where it goes, I have no idea. We would love to get into another 40 unit apartment building and, you know, and whatever different, anything different we can get into, we'll take a look at. And, you know, I think we certainly learned a lot about the apartment building when we were looking at it. And I think it took some of that fear away about getting into a deal that big, which we had never done before. That we started to understand it, start underwriting it more, learn more about how to do it, different things to look for. It didn't work out okay. You can't be afraid to walk away. Can't be afraid to walk away from a deal. You know, and that's
critical, man. Critical.
I'm sure you've walked away from plenty of deals in your career.
I've walked away from a lot. Yeah, I've walked away from a lot. But more often than not, when I look back at deals that I passed on, you know, I can look back to deals from 6-7 years ago and I'm like, oh my God, I could have bought fucking everything. Even if it was overpriced, I would have had another, you know, $10 million in equity today. But hindsight is a motherfucker like that,
It is,
right?
but it's like you got to be comfortable with it. Look, you have to be comfortable.
It's got to make sense today.
It's
got to make sense today. You can't bank on appreciation and the market to do what it did as a result of COVID and everything.
And you got to get a little uncomfortable too.
Of course.
You know, look, I was incredibly uncomfortable going and open a brokerage. You know, where I was
so what was that like, dude?
A little scary, you know, at the time as far as going and opening it and not really knowing where it was going to go. So my intent when I went and opened the brokerage was that I was tired of the corporate world. I was tired of the coaching, the training. I went to go do my thing, sell. I was getting into Zillow and buying leads. I know everyone has their opinions on that, but it was working at the time. And then to have a small pocket of agents and have a low cap, no fees, because I just got soured so much in the corporate world about the amount of money that the companies and the brokerages were taking from the agents.
Siphoning out of you,
Just stealing money, but the agents didn't know it and didn't understand it. And there wasn't a lot of transparency, you know, where agents knew what they were getting paid. And the caps were high. So it was, look, I'm going to have a low cap, 0 fees. You go to work, leave me alone, you do your thing, I'll do my thing. And then it morphed into where we are today. And what happened is just, I think, I was on social media more back then. I was doing more on that. And yes, I mean, it got more exposure for what it is we were doing. Agents started contacting me. Plus, I'd been in the business for a long time. So I had relationships with a lot of people. And then we started to grow and grow more. But then hit a point where it was, okay, shit, I need to stop selling as much because I need to spend more time with the agents. Then as I started doing that, I fell in love with it so much more. And it morphed to where we are now. I don't actively sell anymore. I don't work with any buyers or sellers. All my time is dedicated to the agents and the businesses and growth. So, and I'm happy with that. I don't want to work with buyers or sellers anymore. The only ones I deal with are properties that I own and that we're turning and selling. I love working with the agents. I love sitting down and coaching them. I love seeing them develop, putting a plan in place, and then watching them execute on it. And that's what I found my passion to be. People have asked me, so where does it go? What's the growth look like? I don't know. I have no idea. You know, we're five years into it, and we are very different from what I thought it was going to be. I don't know. What I know is that we take a look at every opportunity and we adapt to it. You know, at one point I had 4 offices. They didn't work out. And what I realized from that, it's again, hindsight. What I learned from that is that don't grow too quick. And I tried to grow too fast and they didn't work out. So I was doing it for the wrong reasons, and I learned from that, and then backtrack into where we are now. Now we have plans for an additional office coming down the road, but I learned from my mistakes and what I did to avoid that and what we're going to do and how we're going to grow.
What were some of the biggest issues that made it not work out at some of those previous locations you opened?
I think when you look at everything, it's people. You know, I don't think it was the right alignment with the people that I did it with, and there was people had different goals they wanted to achieve to it, and it didn't really align with mine. Not that they were bad, or not that they were bad guys. Our goals just didn't mesh. You know, they didn't jive. And I think when you look at growth like that, you have to have people that are captaining the ship that everyone's goals align. And I think at the end of the day, our goals didn't align. You know, in the beginning it was like, hey, let's go. You know, get to announce, get another office. We're growing, but it wasn't done. It was, you know, I didn't slow down and speed up. I just sped up. And learning from that. And again, there's guys who are doing well. And one of the guys went out and opened up his own brokerage. And that's awesome. I knew he was going to. I'm happy for him. And he's doing well. You know, he's a really good dude, good guy. Just with what my plans were, it just all didn't align.
Yep.
You know, and that's okay.
That's cool.
You know,
That's
there's
cool.
nothing
That's
wrong
how
with it.
things
It's
shake
just,
out sometimes.
Yeah,
Yep.
man, and we learn from the shit that we do, man, and it really is okay. So a lot of it was slowing down, and then it came down to where we had the 2 offices. Rob had one in Haddon Township. I was in Cherry Hill. Then it was, okay, we're going to move to a building, shut that down, merge into one. Makes no sense to have 2 open and the expense of having 2 open at the time. We're moving to a bigger building, and let's just do one. You know, and especially in this day and age where so much is virtual.
Yep.
And you don't have offices where agents go into the office a lot. They're working from home. They're working on the road, or they're working in front of their camera on their phone because that's where the livelihood is. Okay. So it didn't make sense to have a couple different offices open. You know,
Yep.
just put it in one spot.
Yep. That makes total sense, dude. So because I'm curious, like on the logistical side or the cost side of actually physically starting a brokerage, like what goes into that?
Well,
Obviously, you have to have a certain number of transactions to be a broker in the first place,
is
right?
based on the model that you're going to do.
Okay.
You know? I mean, and our model was, because it was virtual, overhead was nothing. There was no, I mean, my overhead was a couple grand a month.
Okay.
And that was it. And that was just for some of the tech pieces that I needed, and for rent and the insurance policy that I need, and E&O and liability.
Is the insurance expensive or it's
No,
not
so
crazy?
the E&O when I first opened up for their brokerage was only $450 a year.
Oh, wow.
I mean, that's all based on revenue and based on commissions and the units that you're doing. So, you know, we had to sit there and estimate what the first year would be, and it was based on that. You know, 5 years later, it's ballooned to a whole lot, just because of the amount of business that we're doing. And we're doing a couple $100 million a year through the brokerage on MLS and off market.
Yep.
So it's certainly ballooned a whole lot. But aside from that, you know, you need some general liability. Ironically, we have to have a workers' comp.
Really?
Yeah, for 1099 agents. Don't understand why, but the
Doesn't
states
make any sense.
doesn't make any sense. But
Okay.
you know, New Jersey doesn't make much sense as a whole.
Yeah.
So
Yeah,
it was
fair,
that okay.
fair.
You know, but again, it wasn't that much. Our expenses obviously grew over the years as we were adding people and adding staff, and that's where it all comes in. You know,
Yep.
I mean, so it's not a whole lot. But again, we're a different structure than the corporate entities that have corporate office, they have regional office, they have local office. You know, where they have the staff and the salaries of 2 or 3 different levels that's being allocated to each different P&L in the office. So we're not that kind of structure at all. So it's really not a whole lot in getting started. And look, and I think if more people go open a brokerage, go for it. Go for it. More power to you. I'll help you in anything that you need. Call me, guys, if you have any questions on doing it. But I think more people should. You know, I mean,
Even today's day and age, you think more people should?
I do.
Yeah?
I do. And look, and everyone sits and talks about tech, right? And everyone says tech. Well, I love the tech that they have. Okay, what the fuck is their tech? You don't know what it is.
Yep.
You haven't sat there and you don't use it. You know, 9 out of 10, I mean, places have all this tech and they invest tens of millions, if not hundreds of millions of dollars into a package to say, look, here's our package. We're the sexiest that's out there. And everyone looks at them like, wow, you are. And then they get there, 9 out of 10 people aren't using the stuff that's there. But they're giving all their data to those companies because those companies are data mining from the agent population that there is. So we don't have tech. I don't have company-wide CRM. And part of the other reason is that one CRM doesn't work for 100 people.
No, of course.
One CRM may work for 5,
Yep.
but then you have to charge the other 95 people for something that they're not using.
Yep.
But when you sit down and ask an agent, all right, so what are your expenses that you have? I'm like, all right, well, my split's 70-30. But then you have franchise fees, you have marketing fees, you have tech fees. So really, what is it? And it comes out to be really like a net 58. All right, so what's your return on the money you're putting into it? A lot of them don't understand how to calculate it because it's not being taught. But I look at it that for every dollar I'm investing, I want to get at least 3 back. So I want to take a look to see what I'm putting into it.
Fair.
But we also don't want to own people's data. So we're not into data mining. And everyone, get your own tech. Our cap is low. Our fees are nothing. Go get what works for you.
I love that, dude.
And that's the business, man. You know,
I love
we're not set up for people to be there for me. We're set up so that Rob and I are there for the agents. So don't use the stuff that we use because what we use may not work for you. And I'm certainly not going to charge you for shit that you're not going to use or that you're not going to get some kind of return on.
Yep.
People,
100%.
It's just a lot of people don't look at it as far as the business, you know, and it being a business that every agent needs to understand that, look, you're an entrepreneur. You own a company within a company and you have to treat it that way. And people don't understand how to read a P&L. They don't understand how to read a balance sheet. They don't understand what goes into it. What are the expenses? What do I have to project? How am I projecting my revenue? How am I projecting my expenses? What's the tax implication for everything to do? How can I get more write-offs?
Yep.
Those aren't things that are considered. It's, all right, look, come on in. We're going to show you how to use our CRM. We're going to show you how to do an open house. Okay, that's all well and good, but that's not a business in itself.
That's right.
You know what I mean?
That's right.
And that's with investing too. You know, that's with investing. People need to understand the numbers that go behind the investments. And look, we tell agents, send us deals. You know, if it's something you want to partner on, or if you don't, okay, we buy it, you get to relist it.
Yep.
And I'm telling you, and I'll never, ever, ever forget this email that I got. First off, I would tell the agent, send me a deal. Let me know what you think as far as the numbers. I'm not asking for construction. What is it? What's the price? And what do you think the ARV is going to be? And then we'll go in and take a look at the construction, the reno amount for it. Okay. All I got was an email from the MLS. It's like, okay, I have the MLS too. Like I can look at it. I need you to dig a little bit deeper. And then it was, buy it for, I think it was buy it for 200 and you can sell it for 235. I'm like, this
makes sense.
I'm like, I'm sorry, Miss Agent, but there's nothing there. It doesn't work. Then it was, you're going to make $35,000. Like,
oh my God.
That's not how it works. And it's like, all you investors just want to make so much money. I'm like, no, that's not the
we
business.
don't want to lose money. That's a good start. Like
that's just not how it works. Understanding the numbers. Not enough people put enough into the numbers. And look, and I get some people just aren't good with numbers, and that's okay. But then go to the circle, talk to the people that are good with numbers, and understand the numbers, and help leverage the people that there are to help you understand more about the business.
100%. So what do you think about like the requirements to become licensed in the first place? Because like that's one of the issues with wholesaling, right? Is like there's no barrier to entry. Pennsylvania's trying to do this legislation, all this shit, right?
Sucks.
But it's like even for agents, the training that they have to go through, like it's so ironic. But my wife never did end up getting licensed, but like maybe 5 years ago, she was looking into it and she probably paid for something. And I just remember she would call me from time to time and she's like, oh, I'm studying for this thing. I got this question. And I'm like, I have no fucking idea. She's like, how do you not know? Like, you've been doing real estate deals for years and everything. I'm like, that's not stuff that we use in the real world. Right. So I don't even know what it is, what goes into the training. But I do know that a lot of agents that I talk to don't even know a simple like deal structure or how title works on like, what the fuck are they training and how could they do it better?
But that's the broken part. Look, our business is very broken. The industry is incredibly broken. But the problem is that I don't see it changing because it's such a revenue generator for the states. The states make so much money. There's so many different other economic factors that are involved. When you take a look at the real estate schools, the number of real estate schools that are out there, the money that they make for bringing all the people in. Problem is that when you go to learn something, to get a license to do something, and you're only being taught maybe 25% of what you actually need, I think that's an issue in itself. The other problem is that they can't really teach the other 75% because that's what you learn when you're in the field, and that changes from company to company to company on how they're going to do it because everybody wants theirs done their way.
That makes sense.
And I think that's part of the problem is being done their way. I don't want it done my way. I want it done your way, but making sure it's proper, that I can give you that guidance that you're doing it the proper way. The requirements are never going to change. And people have put stuff out all over the place that, hey, you need to pay X amount of dollars, $20,000 to be licensed. Then you're going to really have the people that are making a lot of money. Part of the other challenge, too, is that in our business, I'm sure you've seen a lot of them, too. You have people that are generating a lot of revenue, but revenue doesn't actually
mean profit.
Doesn't mean profit. Yeah. And that's part of the issue, too. It's just the business structure is so wonky, and our business celebrates the wrong things. I mean, our business celebrates top line rather than bottom line, with all these awards and all the other crap that's out there. And people who know me know I'm not an award guy. Mm-hmm. And I don't, look, if you want an award, go print your own. That's fine. But the business is about the bottom line, not the top line. And I know people that do 50 million, 60 million a year, but don't have money because the retention of that revenue just isn't there. Yep. And I get people's lives are all different and everything, but the true business essence is what am I retaining, not what am I just generating. Mm-hmm. But again, it generates a lot of money for the state, for the Department of Treasury. It generates a lot for the real estate schools. It generates a lot for just even getting licensed. You have to pay $160 to the state to generate something online.
Right.
You actually used to get an actual piece of paper.
Don't even get that anymore.
You don't even get that anymore. But the fee
didn't change.
Get a freaking
email,
fee didn't change. They still kept that the same. And it's not going to change. It generates revenue all over the place for so many people. And there's so many in Jersey with being as densely populated as we are. There's tens of thousands. I think we're like 60, 70,000 realtors in Jersey, something like that. I think at one point we were close to 100,000 agents in New Jersey. And that's a mixture of salespeople and brokers. When we think about that, every 2 years as well, you have to pay that license renewal every 2 years to the state. $200 for the broker. I think it's like $100 for the agent. And how much money they're getting from 60,000 people doing that every 2 years. And then you mix in every person getting licensed in the meantime of $160. They make a fortune.
Yeah.
You know, they make a ton of money also. It ain't going to change. You know, it's not going to change. And it's, again, it is the business. And I think some of the laws and regulations that changed within the last 8 months to the business, I haven't seen a drastic impact on the industry yet. I think it's still to come, and I think you're going to see
talking
more
about some of the NAR,
the NAR stuff and everything. And I think we have our license renewal coming up this year. You know, everyone's license jersey expires June 30th, and look, I think you'll still see a lot of people who don't renew the license. But then part of the cycle, you're still going to see more people coming in and getting licensed who are the newer crew who are only being taught and trained the way that it is now. No, because change is difficult for people. So you have people that are in business for a long period of time. Then this change comes into play, and then it's I can't do this. I don't want to do this. I'm like, dude, I just adapt.
Yep,
that's all.
Well, and that's one thing that's just always going to be constant, no matter what industry we're talking about. It doesn't matter where you are in your life or your journey. It's like, change is constant, man.
Yeah.
Like it blows my mind sometimes. Like I'll talk to guys that have a massive portfolio or they've flipped 500 houses, and it's like they haven't really been active in the last 5-10 years, but it's like they did massive volume 5-10 years ago, right? And now they're like, dude, it's really hard. I can't even get like a single deal. And it's like, man, here's a guy that was bringing in 10, 20 deals a month.
Right.
And the market has changed. The economy has changed so much. The industry has changed that whatever you were doing as a business model or acquisition strategy or whatever, it's not even freaking applicable anymore. No. Like the fundamentals are still there. The fundamentals are always going to be there of the underlying business structure. But the way that you operate within that structure, everything changes all the time, man.
All the time. And you have to be able to pivot, man. Part of the most successful business people we're walking this same line the whole time, right? Yes, it is like this all the time. And you have to pivot and you have to be able to adapt because life changes all the time. Markets change all the time. Economies change all the time. Industries change all the time. You have to be able to pivot for that. And look, I look at it and I tell people that, look, this is a chess game that we play. We're near a leadership role, which all of us really are.
Yep.
It's a chess game, okay? And you have to be able to think about what there could be 3, 4, 5 steps ahead, 6 steps ahead, and you have to plan for it. And that's part of the solution providing. The most successful people are best at providing solutions and coming up with solutions. Okay, well, this is what we're doing today. However, if this happens, if that happens, here's what the solutions are.
Yep.
It lessens the opportunity of getting sideswiped with something that's really going to set you back 10 steps. It may set you back 1, but it ain't going to set you back 10 steps. So you always have to be thinking about that chess game and think about what's going to happen. And part of that, when you're doing that, that's the pivot ahead of time. That's the pivot ahead of time, and you have to be able to do it. We pivoted a ton of times in Prime and Alliance and the title company. We pivoted. You know, I didn't have any intent of opening up a title company when I first started, but we pivoted. So it was okay. The brokerage is doing well. And rather than just sitting there and taking money from the brokerage, putting it in my account, it's, okay, what can we invest in next? What other asset can we build next? And then the next logical solution was a title company. Let's invest and start a title company, have that, and build another asset that's going to be there. You know, that's how, look, I'm not in, and you're not either. We're not in a business that's pension, 401k, anything like that. You know, so our retirement is going to look very different. My father is a retired teacher. My dad taught for 44 years. Yeah. And my dad makes close to 6 figures being retired between his pension and umping, beer league softball games. Well, that's not our business that we're in. So how is that going to be when we retire? And I'm 51 years old right now. I got about 9 years, so I want to start slowing down a little bit. And at that point, all my kids will be out of school, they'll be out of college, and God knows where they'll be in the country. But then my wife and I will be able to take more time, go travel, see them, do stuff that we want to do. But then, okay, we don't have that pension to sit there and be able to lean on. What are the assets that are there that we can sit there and lean on? And that's part of what we want to be able to teach the agents that's out there, whether it be agents at Prime or agents somewhere else. I speak to agents outside of Prime all the time, and they'll call and ask questions looking for some advice. And happy to help out at any time. You know why? Because I want people to build wealth.
Yeah.
I want to see people building wealth so that as they get older, they don't have to worry about things. They don't have to struggle. And I've seen people that are at the peak of their career or the peak of where it is they want to be, and it's a struggle, and it's a struggle, and it's a struggle. I know I don't want to be there, and I love if other people aren't there. You know what I mean?
Yeah. So thinking of like the real estate industry as that metaphorical chess game, what do you see how can this be most helpful for people? For real estate investors or agents, maybe not brokers, so remove yourself from the equation. If they're looking at the industry and what is to come and what is to change in the coming, say, year and a half. And some of that can be that AR lawsuit. Some of it can be AI. Some of it can be, fucking Redfin sold, whatever. It's like, there's all these things that are always changing. Like, what do you think they should do to kind of pivot ahead of time and adapt to kind of be primed for success?
So don't focus on that. Don't focus on what the industry is sitting there saying that it could be, it may or may not be. Focus on the circle that you're in. And if the circle that you're in isn't doing what you want to do, you're in the wrong fucking circle. Get out of that circle, get into a circle of people that are doing what you want to do, because that circle of people are the ones that understand how to pivot and adapt. So no matter what, when people talk about how's the market, if you're doing the right thing,
it's always
good
all
all
the
time.
Yep.
It's always a good time to be in it. But if you're in a circle that is not in it and doing what it is that you want to be to get to where you want to be, get out of that circle and get into a different circle. And that's why I made that move from when I was at the other company to go and figure out how to be an investor, because I was not in the circle to get myself to where I wanted to be. And I sat down, I looked at it, I'm like, I can't get there in this circle. Change my circle. And then here I am, I'm in that circle. And that's completely changed my life, and it's completely changed my family's life. And I waited until I was older to start doing that. And I don't think I got my first investment place. I was 47, 48, something like that. Guys, if you're doing this out there and you can start younger, start younger. Look, my kids, I got 4 boys. My oldest getting ready to go to college. Frightening thing in itself, but getting ready to go to college. And he wants to be a contractor. I said, Jay, that's awesome. Be a GC, be a contractor. Go to college. He's going to swim in college. Take business classes, learn and understand business. When you get out, you go work for someone and understand what it means to be an employee. Work for someone so you understand how an employee should be treated.
Yep.
Learn the business, and then you go off on your own. My other son, my second son, and he's smart. Luca is a smart cookie. He's the kid, I don't care. He's going to get into wherever he goes and applies. He's super smart. What's he want to do? He wants to be a real estate investor. And I said, great, man, I'll help you do that. I'll help you get started. And for that, great, guys, get started young. And if my kids become real estate investors at a young age, they do it the right way, be smart about it, get in the right circles, they don't have to worry about things later in life. They don't worry about their family. That's changing the generational wealth. That's changing the legacy of what it is that they want to do, how their family is, how their kids are going to be. So I never sit there and look at what's going to go on in the market in 12 months, what's going to happen in 18 months. And I know other people do, and some people may look at me like, dude, you're an idiot for not doing that. All right, well, ain't nothing that I can do personally that's going to control that. I don't worry about anything that's not in my control. If it's not, and that's dealing with people too. If someone's being an asshole or being a dick or something like that, all right, cool.
Yep.
I'm happy for it. I can't control that. Yep. I'm not going to worry about it. What I can control is the circle that I'm in, the people that I'm operating with, and seeing if that they are doing what it is that I want to do and get to where I want to be.
Yep.
We hear it say, and I'm sure you say it, you never want to be the smartest guy in the room. Mm-hmm. I never have to worry about that. I want to make sure I'm the dumbest or one of the dumbest guys in the room, so I continuously learn, put myself in different circles. So for the agents that are out there that want to do something that they're not doing now, get rid of the circle that you're in and change that. Don't worry about what's going to happen in the real estate industry 2 years down the road, 5 years down the road. Don't worry about that. Change the circle, change your network.
Yep. Dude, I love that. I think that's such good advice, because it made me think, and it's kind of ironic that this story, but generally I agree, right? Be around people that are doing the things that you want to do and everything, and remove negativity and only focus on fucking production. How can I be the best version of myself, right? So back in COVID, I was in a mastermind group, and at this time, so this was, I'm bad at timelines, I don't know, 2.5, 3 years ago, right? And a lot of guys in this mastermind group, that they're also like wholesalers, flippers, landlords. Almost everybody has different branches in their business that they're doing. High performance guys, right? And I was watching a lot of my buddies fucking suffer. And a lot of people were bleeding out, losing money. The market changed. A lot of things shifted. People weren't buying wholesale deals for a couple months, whatever. All this is happening, and I am having record-breaking months. I'm hiring
Nice.
people left and right.
That's awesome.
And I'm on like this trajectory that I've never been on before, right? So I'd been a part of this mastermind group for a while. I go out to Florida for like a meetup a couple times a year. And I go out, and that's when I'm talking to a bunch of people, and I find out that people all around the country are just kind of like suffering and not really doing great. And dude, I'm not going to lie. Like I came back from there, dude, it fucked me up. Like, because a piece of it was, it was weird for me because I knew that the success that I was having wasn't a fluke. It's not like I was new. I had been at this for a while. Like I'd had successes and failures. I'd had ups and downs. I'd hired people and it went well, and I'd hired people and it went not well. So I knew that it wasn't a fluke, but I also couldn't pinpoint why I was having success while seemingly all of my other buddies around the country were not.
So you could not pinpoint that?
I could not pinpoint it. And I think that kind of fucked me up and scared me, and it let some of the outside world come in because, dude, exactly like you said, I was not paying attention to what was going on in the news. I wasn't paying attention to headlines. If I was, it's like I probably would have had that fear already set in long before. You know, I blocked all that out. But then once it seemed more relatable, and it's like my peers, other people that a lot of them are way freaking smarter than me, this outside force is now impacting them. Dude, it got into my head. And I think like 3-4 months later is when I don't know what cause or effect, right? I don't know if it was my psyche that kind of started to cause some of the decline in my business, or if it was going to happen anyway. But I think about that a lot, man. Like, I really do firmly believe that if you're crazy enough to believe something with your whole soul, you're going to make it work in whatever way you fully freaking believe, you know?
Look, I think that's the power to The Secret. You've read the book, The Secret. I'm a big believer in that. You know, as far as what you're putting out will come back to you. And if you have that mindset and the mentality that it's going to work. It's going to. Will there be bumps? Yeah. Will you fail at some shit? That's fine. I never look at anything. I never fail. I may not succeed, but I'm certainly going to learn. I'm certainly going to learn from it. So, and again, it's why when you talk about doing the right thing and putting yourself in those right circles, it's going to work how you want it to work.
Of course.
Eventually. Is it going to be right away? No. And the business that we're in, it ain't the short term. Our business is the long game. You know, it's a long game. Do people make a lot of money doing flips now? Yeah. There are people that make a lot of money doing flips now. Some people don't make a lot of money doing flips now. They hit singles, doubles, and then hit a home run at some point. You know, it'll happen at some point. But you know, to me, it's, and look, I've been in wrong circles, I've been in the right circles, you know, and the wrong circles wasn't because it wasn't bad people. It was just the wrong circle for where I wanted to be.
And who you wanted to be, right?
And that circle couldn't get me to where I wanted to be because they've never done it, you know, and this is something that when I was going through my real estate career, when I was selling, again, I sold a lot of units, and then I would have someone call to try and recruit me to go to their brokerage, and I would understand what they did. And my question was, look, you've only done $2-3 million a year at best in your career. I'm doing 25 to 30. How are you going to show me how to get to 50 to 60? You can't. You can't do it. So with all due respect, I appreciate you, but I'm staying put. You know, I'm going to be around people that are doing what I'm doing or where I want to get to.
You know, one of the coolest things that I think about, like the real estate investment community, is the willingness of people to help and groom and mentor other people. And I'm not even just talking about like paid coaching or whatever, just like our local real estate investment group, Delco Property Investors. It's like, dude, I joined that group 10, 11 years ago before I even, did anything, right? And I was rubbing shoulders with guys, like you said, that walked the walk, that did the things that I wanted to do, that flipped houses, that bought rentals, have portfolios and everything. And their willingness to just like help and share is crazy. Just the other week, I had a guy that was asking me some questions. He's just starting out. He's like wholesaling some houses and he had some questions. And I was pointing him in the right direction with some things. And he says to me, he's sitting there thinking, he's like, isn't it weird that like you're kind of helping me and training me to do like what your company does? Like you're kind of training your competition. And I see the point that he's getting at. It's just I guess a lot of pieces to that. One, I look at everything from an abundance mindset and everything. It's like me
That's
helping
key.
you and pointing you in the right direction does not take food off of my table, right? I don't think it's a zero-sum gain, right? But I think the reason that I am probably so willing to give back, because if you just look at it very simply like that, I'm going to show you how to do what I do, therefore there's going to be fewer deals for me to go out and do. The reason that it's so palatable for me and everybody else is because so many other people helped me along the way, right? So it's like, of course you want to give back, you know?
And I would bet that throughout the point of your career, throughout the course of your career, you've had people that didn't want to share with you. And they held it close to the shoulder and close to the chest and didn't share that information with you. My guess would probably be those people are not in the position that you're in because of that abundance mentality, that just be willing to help. And look, as far as the competition goes, I've always been a believer that no one out there is my competition. If I do my business the right way, the way that I see for myself, then you're not my competition.
That's right.
Because your business is different than mine. We may be in the same exact industry and the same field, but your business is different than mine. So how can you be my competition, man? You know, and that's how I look at everyone. So anyone calls, they want help with anything, great. And then if I want to place a phone call, and dude, I've called you before. I've called you before and asked you for help and guidance. And I've gotten it without batting an eyelash at it, man. And that's the circles that you want to be in, the people that you want to work with. That abundance mentality will get you more. And I'll tell you some of the things that I realized too in the business, when we're talking about deals in the business, if you find it, everything else will fall into play. Everything else will fall into play.
Ain't that the truth?
You know, people talk about, well, I don't have the money to do this. Look, find the deal. Money will find you.
Totally
Money will find
agree.
you. There's so much money that's out there and people that want to invest. The money will find you. Finding the deal is the harder part to it. Don't be afraid to partner with someone. Don't be afraid to partner with someone like you. If someone calls you with a deal and says, hey, Drew, here's the deal. I like it. I got a few bucks to put into it. Do you have any interest in doing a JV with me? The numbers make sense. Sure. No problem.
Fully agree.
And then what does that lead to? More and more and more and more.
Always.
You know?
Always. I love
People
that.
just don't get that, man. People don't get that.
What do you think about, I know you said as a brokerage, you don't like offer like tech or force tech, I should say, on your agents. But what do you think with some of the developing technology today? How do you think that might change the landscape for agents or the industry as a whole?
Look, the biggest thing with tech that's changed is AI, right? I don't know enough about AI to give any kind of intelligent answer on that. I really don't. All the tech that's been there before, our industry is probably one of the most personal industries that there is because the type of transaction that we are involved in, that it is the most emotional transaction that people will go through in a lifetime. That emotion is not conveyed through tech. You know, and everyone was screaming about these other tech companies buying leads and it's going to turn out where the agents are gone. No, it's not, man. It's not. We're going to be there. Will there be less? Yeah. Will there be people that have a higher skill set? Yes. I know that everyone talks about AI. It's the buzzword now. I've never spent enough time really fully understanding about what it can do. So I don't know. Because to me, everything's about relationships and talking to people. And I don't have my phone on me right now, but I've always said the most powerful piece of tech we have in this business is the phone that's in your hand every day. And people don't use it.
Fully agree.
They don't make enough phone calls, talk to enough people. And I'm sorry, but having a text conversation ain't fucking talking to someone. Pick up the goddamn phone, speak to someone. And if you got a problem, 9 out of 10 times that problem's going to be resolved with a phone conversation and not a text. Just because I'm sure that you've sent a text to your wife or she sent one back to you and you're like, what'd I do? What did I do wrong?
Yeah, man, I totally understand what you mean.
It's having, and look, and I see it too from other people. Look, Rob, my partner in Prime, he's so successful, he talks on the phone all the time. You know, I remember working at Long & Foster with an agent named Nikki Shaw. Nikki crushes it. Guy was never off the phone, but it's not sitting there having text conversations all day long. Speaking to people on the phone, meeting with people face to face. That's what the life is. When you look at the most successful people in this business, I think you're seeing the most relationships that are being built. I don't know enough about AI to say that AI is going to build that relationship. I don't know how it is. Again, not know enough about it, but I think I can build a relationship with you better than an AI bot can.
Fully agree. And I think that's the most important part, man. Like a lot of people, I don't know, if you were to boil that down to a skill, like what agents are going to be successful, or you could make the same argument with real estate investors, another 10 years down the road, but it's like the people that are going to be successful and exceed and excel are going to be the ones that are really good at communication.
Yeah.
Because that's it. At the end of the day, it's communication.
They absolutely will. I mean, and then the other part too is spending the time to understand your craft. There's plenty of agents that, and there's kind of an adage in our business that you don't have to be good, you just have to be there. And there are a lot of people that are there and they're on social media and they're being seen everywhere. They're getting business, but they actually suck at the business piece itself.
I think that will get easier though with AI and tech. Because
being good at the business piece?
Yeah, I really think so. Because it's like that's the kind of stuff that it can't. You don't need to know the legal answer to an entitlement issue or whatever as an individual, because you can just go simply freaking ask AI, what do I do in this case? But you do have to be able to manage the expectations and emotions of the seller, of the buyer, and just keep everybody happy and moving forward, right?
We play psychology every day,
dude.
And I've always liked to say, like, I never felt that I was a great realtor in the course of my career. I feel that my strength is people. And that's where I've always spent a lot of time. And I think that's what's led to some of my success. There are people that are great realtors that are out there, and that's awesome, and great marketers. I just think that I'm better with people than I am at that. And there are people that are all over social media and they crush it and do great. And that's awesome. That's their piece of business. It works for them. Mine works a little bit differently. Yours works a little bit differently. You're big into the tech space. You're big into AI, everything that you built with your CRM, which is awesome, by the way. And that's the other piece. You pivoted. You pivoted your business to get into doing what you're doing now, and you love it. And you spent a lot of time and a lot of money in doing that because you passionately believe that what you're doing is going to help you and going to help other people in the industry and continue to grow.
That's right.
And that's the pivot that we have to do, man.
That's right, man.
3-4 years ago, you probably didn't think that you were going to be doing this.
No, not at all.
Not even a little bit, right?
Not even a little bit, man. Yep.
But you love where you're at and you love doing that.
Dude.
Because you found a passion for something you enjoy.
Absolutely, man.
Yeah. That's the pivot,
Absolutely.
man. I'm passionate about what I do. I'm very passionate about what I do. And I was having this conversation with someone, I think yesterday, that I'm more passionate about what I do now than my other places that I've been in the business and the career, because I believe wholeheartedly more now about what I'm doing than what I did before in the past, if that makes sense.
That makes sense.
I believe in how we're trying to help people. Again, not successful all the time, but the other piece is too that, look,
but the intention is there.
The intention's there. And again, is it always going to be reciprocated either way? I can't force someone to do something. I can't force someone to go out and say, look, here's a plan. You're going to go execute. I can't force that on someone else. They have to have the will and the drive, the desire to go ahead and do that. And when they do, that's where you're seeing the success. That's where you see them really capture. That person becomes a walking billboard for what it is that you're doing and what you're conveying to them. And there's other people that just, they don't want to. They don't want to reciprocate. They don't want to receive the information that's being given there. They want to do things their way. And that's okay too. Doesn't make them a bad person. They just want to do things differently. And okay. And does that work sometimes for other people? Sometimes.
Yep.
Sometimes. But again, that's where get yourself into the circle where you want to be and then execute. If you can execute in that circle, you're going to mirror exactly what's going on there.
Execute.
That's all it is, man. It's there's no magic pill in our business. I don't think there's ever been a magic pill in our business.
Yeah.
The difference of someone doing $100 million a year as opposed to someone doing $2 million a year is execution.
Fully agree. Agree.
Education and execution.
Yep.
And that's it. And if you can focus on those two things, if you can learn about what to do, then go execute, you're fucking golden. You're awesome. I played sports my entire life, man. And I wanted to be around. I was on some great teams and I played with some great players. And I would sit there and be around that and I would learn from my coaches and then I would go and I'd put everything into executing.
That's what makes all the difference, dude. Yeah, and everything. It's not just business, it's life. It's stop that. What's your internal definition of success for yourself?
For me, it's been the freedom is a word, but for me, it's freedom to do everything with my family when I want to do it. That's it. It's got nothing to do with money or anything like that. Like I said, I have 4 boys. They're very active into a lot of stuff. In their entire lives, I've only ever missed 2 events. 2
wow.
games. And that's football,
impressive,
that's
dude.
wrestling, that's swim. I mean, that's everything. That's basketball, horseback riding. I've only missed 2.
My
to
God.
me, that's the success for me. So I can be there with my kids and all the stuff that they're doing. And I know other people aren't in the position to be able to do that. And I get it. Nothing wrong with that. My father was always there for me and was a coach to me forever. So.
How were you able to, maybe through, I'd imagine that the most stressful time was probably starting the brokerage, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like, how were you able to still kind of balance the time
Talk on my phone?
Yeah.
I mean, honestly, it's what it is. It's just my cell phone is with me everywhere. Okay. Now, when I'm at my son's football game and he's playing, I'm not taking a call. I'm not responding to anything. I'm there for my son. And this is something I'll never, ever forget. I think my son, Jason, he may have been 9 at the time, and he was swimming at a club in the wintertime. And I was there for his practice, and on the bleachers, there was me and 8 other parents. And I looked around, and 8 parents were on their fucking phones with their head in their phones, not watching their kids. Yet when their kids would get to the end of a lap and touch the wall, they look up and look at their parents and not see the parents watching them. And it's those things will stand out to you.
Yeah.
That when I'm there with my kids, I'm there.
Yep.
The kids are watching. So any of you parents that are out there that are in business, being there for your kids, put your fucking phone down when you're with your kids.
Yep.
Put it down, be there with them, be present with them. Because look, it's going to go away at some point, And look, I always thought growing up I was going to be a baseball and football dad because that's what I played. I'm a swim dad. My son's going to swim in college. And Jay, I love you if you ever see this, but like we were pushing him to go swim just selfishly because we want to see him swim. we didn't want that to stop.
Yeah.
And he's got the ability to do it, and he's going to do it. He's going to swim in college, but we love being there for that. So like, again, back to the success thing. For me, it's the freedom to be able to do that. I'll never go work for anyone again in my life. And again, this is just me.
No. I totally understand. Yeah.
But so when my kids, if I need to kick out of the office at 3:00 to go watch Dom's wrestling match, I'm out.
Yeah.
I'm out. And then if I need to pause work for a little bit, cool. But my kids also understand that, look, come 5 or 5:30 when that match is done, Daddy needs to get work done for a little bit.
Right.
I'll go knock out the work. And it kind of, again, goes back to our talk about that level of productivity. Just because I may not be working 9 to 5 or I'm not doing something at 7, 8, 9 in the morning doesn't mean I'm not doing it at 9, 10, 11 o'clock at night. Because there's still plenty of things in our industry that I can get done at 8, 9, 10 o'clock at night. When the kids are settled, I'm sitting there in bed and I get caught up on something. So again, everyone's got to find what works best for them. And then juggling the time is, again, we're in such a mobile virtual business that I was able to do stuff with me. And, I got Wi-Fi in my truck and I can sit in my truck while Dom's at practice or something like that and knock out some work and get it done. If he's out there running football practice and it's cold and I want to sit in the heat. So
Dude.
I'll sit there in my truck and get work done.
I hear that, man.
Yeah.
I love that. And it kind of goes back to everything that you set out to do with your brokerage, right? It's like you figured out for you what success meant and you went and you fucking built it. You created it and you did it and you stuck to it, right?
Yeah.
And you mentioned that it's not like a one size fits all like coaching solution with the agents that come into the brokerage. It's like everything is custom because if you have a different vision, you have a different path, I can help you do that, but it's not going to be with a one size fits all, that is the same for everybody that comes through the door. Like it's just not. Man.
We have 100 people. We have 100 different business plans. So we can't just sit there and shove one business plan down everyone's throat.
Yep.
It doesn't work that way, man. That's not going to lead to the success of the agents. And again, I work for the agents. Rob works for the agents.
Yep.
That's what we do. People hang their license. We're fortunate enough to have people choose our brokerage to hang their license and operate their business. Our job is to support that, give them the proper guidance, the proper coaching, and see if they execute. And then look, there are some people that they'll spring the coop. And they'll fly the nest and they'll go somewhere else and go to somewhere where there's a different business plan for them. And I've certainly had people leave me and go somewhere else and had greater levels of success. And that's awesome. I'm happy for them. I'm not upset about it. I'm not mad about it. I don't own anybody. If someone feels like there's an opportunity better somewhere else, go for it and explore. I've done the same thing. You've done the same thing. That's how we get to where we're going to be.
Yep.
Do some people come back? Yes, certainly do. People certainly come back. Do others go off and succeed at a higher level? Yes. Do some fizzle out and get out of the business? Yes, they do.
Yep.
But it's, again, we have to, excuse me.
You're good.
We have to be there for everyone.
Dude.
Figure out what they want to do.
Absolutely, man. So like just high level for anybody that's listening or watching that is an agent and, you know, is considering switching, going somewhere else. Like what are some of the high level reasons other than what we've already kind of freaking beaten down here that somebody would want to come hang their license there as opposed to one of these big corporate?
Look, that's just a relationship thing, man. You know, I mean, like, and in my years in the corporate big bucks where I've had recruiting shoved down my throat, recruit. I'm like, dude, I have to build a relationship with someone. It's the same thing if someone's working with a buyer or seller, relationship has to be there.
Yeah.
I mean, I can sit there and tell people, and, you know, other places too, say we have all this stuff. Great. I can tell people that, look, every single person's, here's your split. Here's the structure of everything. You're going to make 20 grand more here with me than you will at your current brokerage.
Yep.
Well, if they don't
It depends.
like me, you know, if we don't click, if we don't jive, it's not going to make a difference. So if people are looking at going somewhere else, explore, look at different opportunities, but sit down with the captains of those ship and see what kind of relationship that you can form with them, and can they get to you to where you want to be? You have to ask those questions because, again, there are some people that are captains of the ship that really shouldn't be a captain of the ship.
That's fair.
Or, you know, they're a captain, but they're not a general. And you want to get to the point where you're a general. Then you need to make sure that you're speaking and finding those generals to understand how you can get to be that hierarchy that you want to go. So speak to people that are out there, speak to the leaders, see if you click with the leader, see if the leader has done or is doing what it is that you want to do. And don't be afraid to ask this. Show me P&L. Okay. Validate that, because we all know there's a lot of bullshit that's out there on social media, a lot of gurus that sit there and say they're doing crap, but they actually don't.
Right.
So don't be afraid to ask that question. Show me some numbers so I can see that what you're teaching me, you're doing.
Yep.
And not feed me a bunch of lines.
Dude, I love that. I love that. And it's, you know, how long's it been? Like Alex, our old dispo manager, like he's licensed through you and everything. And he sold a lot of our wholesale deals through your brokerage and everything. How many other guys are there that are kind of like that are doing wholesale stuff, like kind of with your brokerage?
There's not a lot, honestly. There's not a lot because, I mean, I think there's more wholesalers out there doing it the wrong way than the right way.
Fair.
So our number one rule at Prime is do the right thing. Number two is don't get me sued. And if you do number one, you don't have to worry about number two. But it's do the right thing. We have it on the wall in the office. Number one rule, do the right thing.
Love it.
And when people come in and talk about wanting to wholesale, we have to take a look at certain things. We need to take a look at the agreements. We need to take a look at what's the pitch, what are your outs, what's the exit opportunities that you're giving them. Are you being upfront with them? Are you disclosing? Or are you just going in and lying your ass off? Because if that's the case, then no, it's not going to happen here. Go somewhere else, go do your own thing. So I can't say that there's a lot. We do have a couple people that are doing it, but we know the contracts. We have the proper disclosures in the contracts. We have the proper information on the contract. And that approach is that here's the approach, here's the outs, here's the honesty that you have to go in with.
That's right.
Don't go in and lie. Because if you go in and start off a relationship on a lie, it's just going to go south. You can't start the relationship off on a lie.
Fully agree, man. And that's one of the shittiest things about the wholesale industry, you know, in its entirety, is that a lot of it is kind of fly under the radar and do deceptive, dishonest stuff and everything. And so many people are blown away when they're asking me for advice. How do I close this deal? I got this seller, I got this deal. And they're like, well, what do I tell them about like when buyers are going to come through? Or like, how do I explain this clause of the agreement without actually telling them? It's like, tell them.
Just be honest.
What do you mean? Like, you don't need to beat around the bush. And it's like mind blown. Like, I can just tell them that the people that are coming through are other investors. It's like, yes, absolutely. You know, it's like if you do everything the right way, you should be able to explain your position and the value that you're bringing to them in the transaction. You know, like going all the way back to the start, it's like most of the time, the first thing that we as a sales team or as an organization are asking a seller is like, why don't you list with an agent? Like, we're pushing them that way. Go list with an agent. If there's any reason that you as a seller don't want to go that direction, maybe we're the right fit for you. Maybe we're not. But setting those expectations from the start and just being honest and ethical about it, dude, it's so much easier.
And that all goes into the lifelong value of a client, right? If you go in, you're open, you're honest with someone, it'll lead to, look, will you make some money on that transaction? Yes. Will you make more down the road because the referral and the repeat business you'll get from that person, because people travel in the same like-minded circles? Yes, you absolutely will. When you look at people as people rather than a fucking dollar bill is when your business blows up, your career goes to different heights that you would never have thought about when you treat someone and you look at them as a person. They're a human being. Go in and be honest. I'm telling you, it's early on in my career when I opened up Prime. The first wholesale deal I did, I went in and I wound up beating out another wholesaler that we both know. He does a lot of business. Good dude. I just beat him out. But I went in and I told the woman that this isn't for me, but this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to find another investor. I'm going to sign it.
Yep.
In order to be able to do that, I need to do this. I don't like to make less than X amount of dollars. I did that. She knew about it. And when we got it all done, I actually gave her another $2,000 that made her whole on the property itself, because the amount, I think I made $6,000 on the deal.
Okay.
I think paid $2,000 to a commission. It was a $10,000 spread. Paid $2,000 to commission to the realtor, which was way more than 3%. It was a small, low level deal. I had to pay a $1,000 referral fee for the person that shot me over the deal. And then I paid another couple grand to the seller to make her whole on what it is that she wanted. And she was ecstatic. We closed the deal. 2 weeks later, she calls me. She goes, "Hey, this is so-and-so. Do you remember me?" And I said, "Yeah, it was 2 weeks ago." Yes, I'm not that old yet.
Yep.
And she goes, "All right, I have 4 more other properties that I was left when my father passed away. Can you help me out?" One of them I bought. I still have as a rental. One of them, so she had 4 other ones. One of them I wholesaled. One of them I still own, which is a condo, a rental. Love it. Absolutely love it. It's an easy rental that I have. Great place. And, from what I bought it for to what it's worth now, I have $55,000 in equity in the deal. I think I bought it for $30,000 and it's worth 85. It appraised at 85 when I did a line of credit on it. The other one I went up turning to just a regular retail listing. And the other one never went up doing with. It was just too beat up. So just because going in and being honest, it led to an investment property that generates cash flow every single month, built a lot of equity into the deal, and I'll be able to sell at one point in the future. That'll take care of my annual living expenses for me and my wife when I retire, and then did a few other deals out of it.
Dude, I love that.
Just being honest, man. People need to be more honest with people. Just treat them like a fucking person and a human being, not a dollar.
Yep.
And stop worrying about social media. Stop worrying about being a guru and a king on social media. It doesn't matter. Just be a good human being, and that's it.
Fully agree, man. Fully agree.
Makes it easier.
If you were only able to your boys are mostly older, right? How old's your youngest?
Rocco's 11.
11.
So
okay,
18,
11.
16, 12, and 11.
If you were only able to instill one value in your boys, what would it be?
Just be a good person.
I love that.
It's all we tell them, guys. Do the right thing. Do the right thing and work. And we tell them, just look, give your best at everything that you do. And I don't care what the results are. Just give your best at everything that you do. And it's, dealing with school and grades and with the kids is a friggin' up and down roller coaster pain in the ass thing.
I get that.
But it's, guys, if you work your ass off and you get all D's and an F, I don't care. I'm okay with that. I don't care. But if you don't work at it and you get a D and F, we got a problem.
Yep.
Then we got a problem. So put your all into everything. Be a good person.
I love that, too. I love that.
Thanks, man.
People want to reach out to you, find you, learn more about the brokerage, bring you deals.
Call me. Use the phone at 856-906-5885. You can find me on Facebook. The rare times I'm on there. Marc Ricci, MarcRicci. Shoot me over a text, and I'll be there. If anyone has any questions on things, how to get started, doing what you're doing, any guidance, give me a call and reach out to me. Happy to talk to you.
Love it, brother. Appreciate you.
Thanks for having me.
Thanks for coming on.
Thanks, brother. Thank you very much.